Okay, welcome back. This time we're going to talk about synthetic division. It's very similar to long division. As a matter of fact, I'm doing the same problem that we did in the long division video. So if you want to go compare it with the long division video, go ahead. I'm actually going to go back and forth a few times. But we're going to do the same problem, this time using a method called synthetic division. Now, synthetic division does not work in every case, unlike long division. You can always do long division. Synthetic division has a couple restrictions. Restriction number one, your divisor right here has to have a 1 coefficient and has to have a power of 1. Okay, there is a couple cases when you can do it with a coefficient other than 1 here, but I don't really want to get into it. So if you want to look that up on your own, you can, but you always have to have a power of 1. It can't be an x squared, x to the third, anything like that. It has to be a power of 1. So this is how you do it. First off, you're going to draw, well, let's get on the pen. Probably the first thing we should do. We're going to draw an L-shaped box like this. We got to figure out what number comes out here, and it comes from this. It's the same way we did it in the remainder theorem, so the number is going to be the same. And we're going to solve it for 0, and we subtract 1 from both sides, and x is equal to -1, just like it was before. And this is the number that we plugged in the remainder theorem. It's now the number that goes out here. So the sign will always be switching, because we're always solving for it. So just remember that. So remainder theorem number out here, the same thing. Inside here, we're going to write in our original problem. And just like before, if there are missing numbers, you have to put them in because they're 0. So we're going to still do that. So we're only looking at the coefficients. The coefficient of here is a 1, so we put a 1 in there. And then we got another 1. And then we got a 2. And then we got a -3. And the signs are important, so if you see a subtraction sign, bring it over as a negative. Okay, so this is how the process works. You take the first number, you're going to bring it straight down, and you're going to rewrite it. Okay, and then you multiply. Okay, so we're multiplying. 1 times -1 is -1, and that answer goes right there. Then up and down, you're going to add. 1 plus the -1 is 0, and then we go back to multiply. This number times this number. So 0 times -1 is 0. That answer goes there. And we're back to adding again. So add straight up and down, and then multiply with the divisor up here. So 0 plus 2 is 2. 2 times -1 is -2. Adding straight up and down, -3 plus -2 is -5. Okay? So our last number that we just wrote right here, this is our remainder. So we have a remainder of -5. The other numbers are going to be our coefficients of our terms, and it's going to be 1 less than we started with. So we started with an x to the third, so this is going to have an x squared. So we're going to write 1x squared plus 0x plus 2 with a remainder of -5. And you don't have to keep the 0x or the 1 for that matter, so we're going to rewrite this as x squared plus 2, and we have a remainder of -5. And remember, you can write that as -5 over our original, which was x plus 1. And if I did this right, you should have exactly the same answer here that we did the first time. So I'm going to go back to it and let's look at it. We got x squared plus 2 minus 5 over x plus 1. And we had x squared plus 2 minus 5 over x plus 1. So indeed, it is the same thing. This is called synthetic division. Let me do one more for you. I'm going to do the same one that I did over here. So here we did x to the third plus 2x plus 5. So let's do it again. We have x to the third plus 2x plus 5, and we divided it by, I think it was x minus 1 this time. Okay, so x minus 1. All right, so we got to figure out what the remainder is. So just like we did before, it's going to be 1 because you add 1 to both sides. So 1 goes on the outside. We write these numbers in here. So coefficient on x to the third is x. I'm missing. That should have been an x squared. So let's put the square on it. We're going to put a 2 there. The x is missing. So where the x was, we're going to put the 0, just like we did with long division. And then we have a 5. And I want to make sure one last time I have the numbers right. So we got 1, 2, 0, and 5. And we had 1, 2, 0, and 5. Okay, so we have the same problem. And then we're going to use our new method, which means that we're going to start taking our numbers and going with it. So the first number drops down as the number 1. And then we multiply. 1 times 1 is 1. Add, straight up and down. 2 plus 1 is 3. Multiply. This number 3 times the 1 is also 3. Add. 0 plus 3 is 3. Multiply. 3 times 1 is 3. Add. 5 plus 3 is 8. So this says that our remainder right here is 8. And this is our original one. 1 less power than we started with, so we started with x to the third. So I end up with 1x squared plus 3x plus 3. And we had a remainder of 8, which means it's over the original of x minus 1. And let's see if I got the same answer as I did before. We had x squared plus 3x plus 3 plus 8 over x minus 1. And we had x squared plus 3x plus 3 plus 8 over x minus 1. So we got the same answer. And once again, we have done it correctly. If you have any questions, please let me know.